Welcome to Profits Through Podcasting, the show for entrepreneurs with podcasts who want to monetize by generating leads and profits for their business from podcasting. I'm your host, Joel Oliver, CEO of East Coast Studio. And today I want to help ensure you are maximizing your ROI from podcasting and highlight a list of ways that you can do that. Now, some of these don't require any or much effort at all. Some do require a bit, but I want you to be aware of everything, because podcasting does have some more obvious benefits, but there are some less obvious ones as well. And if you're going to spend the time to do it, it's good to understand the potential and squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as possible, right? You might as well, you're doing it anyway. And the more value that you can get from podcasting, well, then the more likely you are to keep going. And of course, from all these things that you're doing, you're going to be getting better results for your podcast and your business. So just all makes sense. Let's start with the first one. It's probably the most obvious, one of them for sure, repurposing content. So you can repurpose your podcast episodes into other forms of content. That could be a blog post, that could be a video, it can be social media clips. That's a very common one, email newsletters. This extends the reach of your content and appeals to different audience preferences. So maybe you have people on Instagram that aren't really into podcasts. They don't listen to your podcast. Well, they can check your stuff out on Instagram. And of course, we know with social media, stuff can go viral. It can reach other people who are outside of your current audience. So that's huge. You can create dozens of pieces of content for different platforms by just doing your podcast episode. And think about how much work that would take on its own. Like, let's say you wanted to create a blog post. You got to start with your idea. You've got to write it. There's a whole bunch that goes into that, whereas you can systematize and automate a lot of this stuff. So let's say that you want a blog post from your podcast episode. Well, you can be getting a transcript back after you finish recording, and then that can go off to a VA, or you can even consider some AI technology and refine that into a blog post. And of course, the social media clips that can go on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. You can do a video version of your podcast, a recording to go on YouTube in full length. There's so many things that you can do, and you don't have to really think about them once you set it up. Okay, we do that with this podcast. It's just a given. I do the recording. Once that's done, one of the most important things that happens is we create those clips for social media. So you might have seen those on Instagram and LinkedIn and the other platforms like I mentioned. I don't touch that. Once I'm done recording, it's all out of my hands, and it gets created, it gets published. As we know, huge results and benefits from being on social media, and it literally takes you no extra effort. So if you're not doing that for your podcast, you need to be, okay? This repurposing of content is one of the most simple yet effective things that you can be doing to get an additional ROI from your podcast. The second way to maximize your ROI from podcasting, this will be networking and collaboration. This applies more so if you're doing interview episodes as opposed to solo, but it can still be done. Podcast gives you a context through which to meet people and strengthen connections that you may not have had otherwise. Okay, we were doing some cold outreach here, and I tried to write the emails as best as I could, not in a salesy way, but at the end of the day, you're reaching out to them to try to do business together, and people are going to, if they don't need you, they're just going to see that as spam and delete it, right? But now with a podcast, well, people are a lot more inclined to talk to you, and then you can make a connection, make an impression. They can remember me, they can remember the business. Maybe someday they'll need assistance or they'll have a referral, whereas before they would have just ignored that email. And even if nothing comes of it, there's still, like we're talking about here, there's a lot of value. You're getting content, you're giving them content to publish and share. You're also going to get people coming to you to be on their podcast as a guest, and people offering to be on yours. And then you get this snowball effect, because if you're following the first one I talked about, repurposing content, you're going to tag them in all the posts, give them links to share on social media with their audience. So you're leveraging their audience. They may share you on their mailing list, and some people, they've got quite big mailing lists. So this is a big one. Your network is your net worth, is a common saying. People are important here. So this gives you a huge way to meet and connect with more people through the whole networking and collaboration and guesting through the podcast. So invite guests who resonate with your audience and are going to add value provide valuable content to your audience, and you're going to see a whole bunch of benefits from this alone. If you're not doing that, you need to be. If you're doing solo episodes, well, yeah, it may not be as much of an opportunity here, but you can still certainly find ways to connect with people through your podcast. Third way to create additional ROI through your podcast: develop speaking and interview skills. So are you camera shy or uncomfortable talking? Do you need to work on creating a booming, confident voice? Do you want to become a better public speaker? This is one of the less obvious ones, perhaps, because, well, yes, just doing the podcast can help with some of these things that I've just mentioned, like becoming more confident and help with public speaking. Becoming consciously aware can help you get results faster. If you're just doing it anyway, sure, it's impossible to not do 50 podcast interviews and not get better. But if you keep in mind that this is a skill that you're working on, well, now when you're listening back, you might notice some areas where you can improve, or maybe you'll focus for a while on all the filler words that you use. And then as you focus on those and become aware of them, you stop doing that. And of course, that will translate into everyday life, whether it's a social situation or professional situation. If you're talking more clearly, you're not saying a whole bunch, you're more engaging. This is going to have benefits in all areas of life. So just have this in the back of your mind. You might even decide to read some articles or watch some videos on how to improve these skills, or maybe you'll really get into it and join Toastmasters or take some coaching if you're really trying to do public speaking in a big way. Okay. Next way to maximize your ROI from podcasting: SEO optimization. Yes, SEO is still a thing, although it is changing. Of course, we have transcripts being more usable by platforms as search criteria and algorithms are recommending content, but SEO is still important. And it relates to number one in a way, where we talked about repurposing content. You can turn the podcast into a blog post, for example. That will give you SEO benefits. But more specifically here, I'm talking about show notes and even the transcriptions. So writing proper episode show notes and summaries for your website can bring in more traffic. Plus, having those on your site as a resource for listeners, well, that's going to bring more people to your site overall, right? And then if you've got any sort of lead magnets or pop-ups on the site or things that you're selling, well, now you've got more people there to engage with that. So you want to make sure that you're optimizing your podcast titles, your descriptions, all that stuff for search engines to improve discoverability. Any relevant keywords and phrases that your target audience is likely to be searching for, put those in there. Okay, I don't want to see any of these one-sentence show notes. You're leaving a lot on the table there. You should have show notes that are substantial enough in terms of how much text there is to impact SEO. And if you want, you can even throw the transcript on there for an additional boost. But this is an easy one. It's been there from the start of podcasting. I always really scratch my head when I see people that are going through the effort to create podcasts, but then just writing a sentence as the show notes. You also want to show people a little preview of what's in the episode so they can decide, hey, I want to listen to that. You can write these in a compelling way. So absolutely, the SEO and other benefits that come along with having a proper description and summary for the episode, very important. Next, number 5, how we can create additional ROI and maximize ROI from podcasting for you. Well, one of the benefits is audience engagement. This is a big opportunity for you to get your audience more engaged and speak with you. You want to encourage listener interaction. You can have calls of action in your podcast, whatever you want them to do, follow you on social media, have feedback channels. There are ways you can have listeners send in pre-recorded voice messages. You can have them comment on your posts and then be responding to those comments and foster a sense of community and loyalty and trust with you. People are just getting to know you. They're talking to you like you're a friend. So don't just be pushing your content out there from the podcast and never checking your comments or, not doing anything on social media or engaging with people. Think of ways that you can be interactive and get people more involved with what you're doing. Number 6, I put this in here. It's kind of a given, but I want to talk about it. It's kind of a given, especially because of the nature of what we talk about on this podcast, but it is worth mentioning. And this would be monetization. Okay. I mean, in the whole subject here, yes, it's talking about ROI. So this arguably goes without saying that we want to monetize the podcast. But in any case, it is a benefit of podcasting that we do want to maximize. So here on Profits Through Podcasting, yes, we specifically focus on generating leads and revenue for your business. You should be doing that by having an optimized funnel, a call to action in the episode that sends people where you need them to go. Maybe you're having them join a mailing list. That's all a whole other thing. But yeah, we want to monetize. So you need to be having that in mind in terms of how to best align your podcast with your business and get people efficiently through the funnel and hopefully become paying customers. But alternatively or additionally, you may consider other strategies like sponsorships, affiliate marketing, donations through platforms like Patreon. There could be subscriptions, bonus content. There are all sorts of ways to boost the income from your podcast. You do want to keep in mind not to overwhelm people with calls to action. Like if your one focus is generating leads and revenue for your business, well, we don't really want to have 3 sponsors in there. Now you've got 4+ things you're trying to tell people, hey, go do this, go do this, go do this. But it is an option depending on how things are set up for you, just to be aware of how you may be able to strategically generate additional income from your podcast. Next way to maximize the ROI that you're getting from podcasting: data analysis and content strategy. So you get a lot of data once you are podcasting for a while. You're getting analytics to see who's listening, where they are, what type of people are they, how are they engaging, how is your content performing? Does one type of content perform a lot better than another? Listener numbers are way up, and conversely, in other situations, they're down. So you're getting all these insights, and you can use those to refine your content strategy, look for trends, and optimize future episodes. Okay, let's see. People like us talking about this. Maybe we should do more of that content. Or if they're not so much interested in this, maybe we should not do that. Or how can we alter it to be more engaging and relevant to people? This does tie in a little to audience engagement, which we previously touched on, but we're making use of those connections here, right? You can actually have a conversation, a two-way conversation, rather than just broadcasting. You can hear what people have to say, like what are they enjoying, what's working for them, what are the problems that they're having that you can perhaps provide some valuable insight into and solutions for. You can test different offers. There's a whole bunch of opportunity here in terms of analyzing and developing your content strategy around the audience that you want to serve. And finally, number 8 on our list of how to maximize ROI through podcasting: trust, authority, and brand building. I lumped all these into one. The podcast acts as another touch point. Okay, it's another way for people to know, like, and trust you. Plus, you're building authority at the same time. So the more they hear from you and see you, listen to your episodes, learn about what kind of person you are and your opinions, and hear good advice from you, they're going to trust you. You're building authority at the same time there because you are hopefully posting content on social media and people are seeing your face and getting this idea that, hey, you know what you're talking about. So doing that, you can be seen as a leader in your space. And then, of course, just your overall brand, your personal brand or your business's brand, that's going to be showcased and hopefully strengthened here because, yeah, with podcasting or any medium where you're putting yourself out there, you're going to have an impression either way. It can be good or it can be bad. And a big thing that comes with podcasting, not only is it your speaking skills and how you present yourself, but things like audio quality and video quality. If your audio doesn't sound very good, it sounds cheap and it's hard to hear and it's annoying, well, that doesn't give the impression of high value or someone that delivers a quality product or service, right? Same with video. If you've got your socks and underwear in your closet as a backdrop when you're recording, well, does that come across as a reliable professional company that someone wants to work with? No, not really. So you want to be aware of the impression that you're putting out there through your podcast. And then once you've got that in check and you know that you're putting out good quality content, well, that's going to help strengthen your brand and people know that you're an authority in all ways and that they can trust you and that you're going to deliver and you're a pro. Okay. So there you have it. That's 8 ways of how to maximize the ROI that you're getting from podcasting. Keep those in mind. Like I mentioned at the beginning, some of these just kind of happen, whether you choose for them to happen or not, but others need a little more effort or attention, at the very least, initially, to set them up. So we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of podcasting. You're going to pay for it either way in terms of time and a budget to have it produced. So why not squeeze as much out of it as you can and get the most benefits back for yourself and your business?
Join us again next time on Profits Through Podcasting for more tips on how to turn your podcast into a lead and revenue generation machine for your business. And if you're ready to let a team of professionals handle your entire podcast production workflow so you can focus on the most important tasks in your business, visit eastcoaststudio.com/apply.